In the Kalahari, survival begins with reading the land. A movement in the grass, a distant shape, or a scent carried on the wind can change everything. Here, a few seconds may separate escape from confrontation. A lioness has strength, but a Gemsboks carries long horns that make every close attack dangerous. A cheetah has extraordinary speed, yet a springbok can survive by changing direction again and again, forcing its pursuer to spend precious energy. African wild dogs rely on cooperation, while wildebeest find protection in numbers. Leopards use concealment, but dense thorn scrub can also provide smaller prey with an escape route. There is no single strategy for survival. Sometimes the answer is to run. Sometimes it is to stand and fight back. And sometimes the wisest decision is simply to abandon the confrontation. Every pursuit consumes energy. Every close encounter carries risk. And in this unforgiving landscape, neither can be wasted. But these battles are only the most visible part of a much larger story. Beyond the chase lies an immense world of red sand, open grassland, thorn scrub, dry riverbeds, and pale salt pans. Gemsboks cross exposed plains. Springboks search for scattered vegetation. Giraffes reach high into thorn trees. Ostriches travel enormous distances. Meerkats watch from termite mounds, while jackals, hyenas, and big cats follow trails through the same vast landscape. Each animal reads this land differently. Open ground allows prey to see danger approaching, but gives hunters little cover. Thick vegetation may conceal a leopard, yet offer smaller animals somewhere to disappear. A termite mound becomes a watchtower. A burrow becomes a refuge. Every feature of the landscape can offer an advantage or become a trap. Then the sun climbs higher. Shadows shrink. The red earth heats rapidly, and the air above the plains begins to shimmer. Activity slows. Animals seek shade, retreat underground, or simply conserve their strength. Even the most powerful predators must obey these limits, because the greatest forces in the Kalahari have no teeth and no claws. Heat determines when animals can move, distance determines how much energy they must spend, and water determines where, sooner or later, they must go. Across the plains, shallow pools are shrinking. Some have already become mud and cracked earth. A Gemsboks arriving at one of these empty depressions can do nothing but move on, and as water disappears, journeys will become longer. Animals that once kept their distance will increasingly be drawn toward the same places. In the Kalahari, knowing how to survive the hunter is only the beginning. The next challenge is surviving the thirst. Day by day, the water retreats. Shallow pools contract into patches of mud. Riverbeds remain empty for longer, and the distance between reliable water sources continues to grow. For the animals living here, thirst is not a sudden crisis. It is a pressure that builds slowly, reshaping where they travel, when they feed, and how much risk they must accept. Gemsboks continue across the open plains, taking moisture from the vegetation they eat. Springboks make use of the coolest hours, feeding on leaves and young shoots before the rising sun strips away their remaining moisture. Giraffes reach higher into the trees, where greener foliage can still survive, while ostriches cover great distances in search of scattered food. Smaller animals solve the same problem differently. Meerkats begin feeding early, then retreat as the ground becomes too hot. Rodents remain close to their burrows, carrying seeds underground, where shade and more stable temperatures reduce the cost of life on the surface. Each strategy can delay the need to approach open water, but none can escape it forever. As the remaining waterholes shrink, animals that once occupied different parts of the landscape begin arriving at the same places. Wildebeest crowd the muddy edges. Gemsboks wait for openings. Ostriches search for space between larger bodies. Springboks hesitate beyond the shoreline, balancing thirst against the danger of entering such an exposed gathering. Competition grows because every meter of accessible water now matters. Animals push, threaten, and displace one another, not for territory, but for a few moments at the water's edge. And predators are bound by the same scarcity. Jackals, brown hyenas, and lions must also drink. Their arrival may have nothing to do with hunting, but the herbivores cannot afford to assume that. A single lioness appearing on a ridge can transform the entire waterhole. Heads rise, bodies turn, and within seconds, animals begin to withdraw. This is the hidden consequence of drought. As the distance between water sources increases, the distance between animals decreases. Trails from grassland, dry riverbeds, and thorn scrub begin to converge, drawing predator and prey toward the same shrinking patches of water. Scarcity does more than create thirst. It makes movement more predictable, competition more intense, and every journey increasingly dangerous. The masters of thirst are not creatures that can live without water forever. They are those that have learned how long they can wait before they must take the risk of finding it. Before sunrise, the desert is briefly released from the heat. The sand still holds the coolness of night, and for many animals, these first hours of daylight are among the most valuable of the day. Meerkats emerge from their burrows to warm themselves in the early sun before spreading out to forage. Springbok feed while moisture still clings to the vegetation. Gemsboks travel while the ground remains cool, and ostriches cross the open plains before the full weight of the day begins to build. Even the cheetah must use these hours carefully, watching, judging, and conserving its strength until an opportunity is worth pursuing. But this window does not last. As the sun climbs, the Kalahari begins to change. Reptiles emerge to absorb the morning warmth, moving between sun and shade to regulate their body temperature. For a short time, the rising heat is useful. Soon, it becomes something to avoid. By midday, shadows have contracted beneath the trees. Meerkats retreat underground. Springbok reduce their activity. Lions remain almost motionless beneath the little shade they can find. Even when prey is visible, a chase beneath the midday sun may cost more energy than it can return. For several hours, the open grassland appears almost empty. But the desert has not fallen silent because life has disappeared. It is waiting. As the sun begins to descend, shadows lengthen and the temperature falls. Meerkats return to the surface. Springbok begin feeding again. Gemsboks leave their resting places, and giraffes resume their slow passage between scattered trees. The same landscape that seemed abandoned only hours earlier begins to move once more, and with the fading light comes another change. The animals of the day gradually give way to those adapted to darkness. Jackals begin searching the trails. Bat-eared foxes listen for insects beneath the ground. Brown hyenas set out on journeys that may carry them many kilometers through the night, while leopards use darkness and thorn scrub to approach unseen. Closer to the sand, an entirely different world becomes active. Rodents leave their burrows to collect seeds. Scorpions emerge onto the cooler surface. Snakes follow the movements of small prey, while owls watch from above, hunting with sound and silence rather than speed across the open plain. The Kalahari never truly sleep. It simply changes shifts. No animal can stop the sun from rising or prevent the ground from becoming dangerously hot. Survival depends instead on something more subtle, knowing when to appear, when to disappear, when to hunt, and when to wait. And as the first light returns to the horizon, the creatures of the night begin to withdraw. A meerkat appears once again at the entrance of its burrow. Springbok return to the grassland. The landscape is the same, but the players have changed. Here, survival is measured not only in distance, water, or strength. Sometimes, it is measured in hours. Every hunt begins with an advantage. The challenge is keeping it. For a lioness, success depends on getting close before strength and acceleration are revealed. But approaching a Gemsboks carries its own danger. Long horns can turn a fleeing animal into a formidable opponent. And once the herd closes around a vulnerable individual, the opportunity may disappear altogether. The cheetah solves the problem differently. It sacrifices concealment for extraordinary speed. Across open ground, few animals can match its acceleration, yet speed is only useful while the chase remains predictable. A springbok that turns sharply forces the hunter to correct its course again and again, spending energy with every change of direction. Sometimes, a few meters of difficult terrain are enough to transform near capture into escape. Among thorn scrub, speed becomes less important. Here, the leopard depends on remaining unseen until the final moments. Vegetation allows it to approach within striking distance, but the same tangled cover can favor smaller prey. A steenbok needs only a narrow opening to pass where its larger pursuer cannot. For African wild dogs, the hunt belongs to the group. By separating, surrounding, and changing positions, a pack can influence the direction in which prey moves. But cooperation exists on both sides. Wildebeest can close ranks around their young, turning horns, numbers, and collective defense against the hunters. Not every predator depends on a dramatic chase. A jackal survives by recognizing opportunities that cost little energy. A brown hyena relies on persistence, traveling great distances and allowing scent to guide its search. High above them, an eagle has another advantage entirely. From the sky, it can examine an enormous area, but against meerkats, even that advantage can be defeated by a single vigilant sentinel and an alarm delivered in time. No strategy works in every encounter. A giraffe mother can place her body between danger and her calf. An ostrich can use the open plain to build speed. Rodents disappear underground. Springbok change direction. Gemsboks turn their horns toward the threat. And animals living in groups gain something a solitary individual cannot. More eyes to detect danger, and sometimes more bodies willing to confront it. For hunter and hunted, success depends on reading the opponent as carefully as the landscape. Attack too soon, and surprise is lost. Chase for too long, and energy is wasted. Approach from the wrong direction, and the wind may reveal a predator before it is seen. For prey, choosing the wrong escape route can be equally costly. Occasionally, everything works in the hunter's favor. The distance closes, the escape fails, and for a brief moment the predator gains control. But one successful hunt does not change the balance of the Kalahari. Across the same plains, countless other pursuits end differently. Hunters abandon the chase. Prey reach the herd, the scrub, or the safety of a burrow. Opportunities appear and vanish. There is no perfect predator here, and no perfect defense, only an endless exchange of strategies, repeated across the open land. And sometimes, the most important decision is not how to attack or how to escape, but knowing when the contest is already over. At first glance, the surface can seem almost empty, but beneath the red sand lies another Kalahari cooler, darker and crowded with life. For meerkats, the burrow is more than a shelter. It is a refuge from heat, predators, and the dangers of the open ground. Above it, one animal stands guard while the others forage. A single alarm can send the entire group underground within seconds. Life here depends on cooperation. Pups learn by watching the adults. Sentinels sacrifice feeding time to watch the horizon. And when danger approaches, the group can respond as one. A snake near the burrow changes everything. The youngest disappear first, while the adults remain outside. Instead of attacking blindly, they surround the threat, approach from different angles, and force it to divide its attention. Persistence, numbers, and timing can turn a dangerous visitor away without a direct fight. Other small animals use different solutions. Ground squirrels keep close to their burrows and even use their tails as portable shade. Rodents carry seeds underground, where food can be stored away from the heat. Lizards move between sun and shadow by only a few centimeters, carefully controlling how much warmth they absorb. Below the surface, termites continue working even when the ground above becomes almost unbearable. Their mounds are not lifeless towers of earth, but complex structures filled with movement. Around them, beetles, scorpions, and other small creatures form a hidden community that becomes more active as the day cools. And where there is prey, there are hunters. A lizard may wait beside a rock for a rodent to pass. An owl watches the entrances of burrows after dark. Snakes follow vibrations through the sand. At this scale, the chase may last only seconds, and an escape route may be no wider than a crack between two stones. As darkness falls, the surface changes hands again. Rodents emerge, scorpions move across the cooler sand, owls leave their perches, snakes search the edges of termite mounds and burrow systems. Above ground, the Kalahari may appear quiet. Below it, life never stops. For many of its smallest inhabitants, survival does not mean enduring the desert at its most extreme. It means knowing when to disappear beneath it. There comes a point when adaptation is no longer enough. The grass has faded to yellow. Vegetation grows thinner. Waterholes contract into shallow pools, and some disappear completely. What once required a short journey now demands kilometers of travel across exposed ground. Gemsboks keep moving, searching farther for patches of vegetation that still offer food and moisture. Springboks spread across larger areas, leaving the security of the herd to reach the few remaining green plants. Meerkats must forage farther from their burrows, increasing the distance between food and safety. For predators, the problem is the same. Lions leave familiar resting areas. Cheetahs search plains where prey once gathered but has now moved on. Jackals follow the trails left by herbivores. Brown hyenas simply keep walking, traveling through grassland, dry riverbeds, and scrub, using persistence where speed would achieve little. As resources disappear, the landscape begins to reorganize itself. Old trails lead to waterholes that are now dry. New tracks turn toward the few places where water still remains, and every animal that follows them becomes more predictable. At the last waterholes, species that once kept their distance are forced into the same shrinking space. Wildebeest crowd the muddy edges. Gemsboks defend narrow access points. Ostriches wait for an opening. Springbok remain farther back, unwilling to leave but reluctant to approach. Even predators come here to drink. A brown hyena may arrive with no intention of hunting, yet the herbivores move aside. When lions appear on the ridge, the effect is greater still. Animals abandon the water before their thirst is satisfied, because waiting carries one danger and staying carries another. There are fewer good choices now. For a springbok, avoiding a lion may mean leaving water behind. For a gemsboks, remaining longer may be possible, but even horns cannot remove the risk. For a meerkat searching farther from its burrow, every extra meter increases the time it remains exposed to an eagle overhead. Scarcity changes more than the amount of food and water available. It changes behavior, it changes distance, and eventually, it changes who meets whom. As the dry season tightens its grip, predator and prey are drawn onto the same trails, toward the same waterholes, and into increasingly narrow pockets of usable habitat. The hunters may still chase, the hunted may still escape, but neither controls the forces that brought them together. By now, the most dangerous predator in the Kalahari has no claws, no teeth, and no need to pursue. It is the land itself. At first, the change is almost impossible to see. The wind shifts, the air becomes cooler, heat haze begins to fade, and animals that have spent weeks responding to drought suddenly start paying attention to the sky. Meerkats pause above their burrows, Gemsboks raise their heads to the wind, lions leave the shade. Birds alter their flight paths. Something is coming. Clouds gather slowly at the horizon, rising higher until they begin to dominate the landscape. The light changes. Thunder travels across the plains, lightning flashes inside the growing storm, and for a moment the Kalahari seems to wait. Then the first drops fall. On red sand, each one leaves a dark mark. Dust disappears from leaves and grass. Dry earth begins to absorb water that has not touched it for months. Soon, the rain becomes heavier. Tiny streams form between grains of sand. Footprints fill with water. Dry channels begin to carry moving currents, and waterholes expand beyond the cracked margins left by the drought. For animals that have spent months searching for water, this transformation is extraordinary. But relief brings a new problem. When rain falls faster than the ground can absorb it, dry channels can change within minutes. A shallow depression becomes a flowing stream. A riverbed that appeared harmless only moments earlier can suddenly fill with fast-moving water. Springbok leave the channels and climb for higher ground. Gemsboks abandon familiar trails when water cuts across them. Ostriches guide their young through shallow crossings before the current grows stronger. For smaller animals, the danger can be even greater. A meerkat burrow that offered protection from heat may now begin to flood. Rodents are forced from underground shelters. Lizards climb wet rock while snakes move away from rising water and search for higher ground. The skills that preserved life during the drought must now be used in a completely different way. Running, jumping, climbing, changing direction. Once these behaviors helped animals escape predators, now they help them escape the water. Gradually, the storm begins to weaken. Thunder moves farther away. The horizon returns, and the land that emerges beneath the clouds is no longer the same. Waterholes are larger. Dry channels are flowing. The red soil is dark with moisture. For months, every animal here has waited for rain. But the Kalahari offers few gifts without conditions. Water brings life back to the land, and for a brief moment, it can also become one of its most powerful forces. After the rain, the transformation begins quietly. Green shoots push through the red soil, wildflowers appear between the grasses, insects return in numbers, and termite mounds become active again. Birds follow the new abundance, while meerkat pups emerge into a landscape very different from the one their parents endured during the drought. For the herbivores, life becomes easier for a time. Springboks spread across fresh grass. Gemsboks no longer need to travel as far between feeding areas. Ostriches lead their young through ground alive with insects, and waterholes once surrounded by cracked mud begin to fill again. But abundance does not end the struggle. Cheetahs still watch for weakness. Lions still test the edges of herds. Wild dogs still work together to separate one animal from the others. Rain changes the landscape, but it does not erase the relationship between predator and prey. And now, another influence becomes visible. Across parts of the Kalahari, roads, fences, and human activity can interrupt the routes animals use between feeding grounds, shelter, and water. When those connections are lost, survival becomes harder even when food and rain return. Conservation is therefore not simply about protecting individual animals. It is about protecting movement. Wildlife corridors allow Gemsboks, springbok, predators, and many other species to continue traveling between habitats. Camera traps and field monitoring reveal how these routes are used. Rangers track changes in wildlife activity and water availability, while local communities can help reduce conflict by understanding when and where predators are moving. The goal is not to remove lions from the system or to prevent prey from being hunted. Those relationships belong here. The task is to preserve enough space, enough connection, and enough functioning habitat for those natural relationships to continue without being broken by avoidable barriers. And then, gradually, people leave the frame. Meerkats return to their burrows. Gemsboks cross the grassland. Springboks spread across the plains. Ostriches lead their young toward the horizon. A cheetah disappears behind a ridge. A brown hyena continues its long walk into the evening. The water that returned so dramatically will not remain forever. Small pools will begin to shrink. Grass will dry again. Animal trails will change once more. The cycle is already beginning again. No lion, Gemsbok, meerkat, or human stands at the center of this story. The true constant is the land itself, a place where drought returns, rain returns, predators hunt, prey escape, and life survives by adapting to change. To protect the Kalahari is not to stop that cycle. It is to make sure it still has room to continue.